All it takes is one single incident to get the ball rolling. And it only took 5 years. Before we begin with the actual production of the movie that I'm reviewing, let me catch you up on some history. Friday, March 11, 2011. Off the Pacific coast of Tohoku was a magnitude 9.0 or 9.1 undersea magnethrust earthquake off the coast of Japan that occurred at 14:4600 hours Japan Standard Time. That would be 2:46 p.m. in military time, with the epicenter approximately 70 kilometers or 43 miles east of the Oshika Peninsula of Tohoku, and the hypocenter at an underwater depth of approximately 29 kilometers or 18 miles. It was the most powerful earthquake ever recorded in Japan, and the fourth most powerful earthquake in the world since modern recording keeping began in 1900. To make matters worse, the tsunami that followed afterwards caused nuclear accidents, primarily the level 7 meltdowns at 3 reactors in the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant complex. How did I get that right the first time? And the associated evacuation zones affecting hundreds of thousands of residents. Many electrical generators ran out of fuel. The loss of electrical power halted cooling systems, causing heat to build up. Residents within a 20-kilometer or 20-mile radius of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant and a 10-kilometer, that will be 6.2-mile radius of the Fukushima Daini nuclear power plant were evacuated. And how did the government react? They reacted as slow as a snail going through syrup or molasses. It was completely frustrating at the time that the government reacted so poorly and slowly that I kind of sympathize with them. Now that I have provided you with some context and the background, let's get into the actual production of this movie. In December of 2014, Toho announced plans for a new Godzilla film targeted for a 2016 release, stating, "This is very good timing after the success of the American version this year. If not now, then when? The licensing contract we have with Legendary places no restrictions on us making domestic versions." The new film would have no ties to Legendary's MonsterVerse and instead would serve as a reboot to the Toho series. Minami Ichikawa, I almost screwed up his name, would serve as the film's production manager, and Taiji Ueda, that's how you say his last name, as the film's project leader. Ueda confirmed that the screenplay was in development and filming had been planned for a summer 2015 shoot. Toho would additionally put together a project team known as the Godzilla Conference or Gojicon to formulate future projects. In March of 2015, Toho announced that the film would be co-directed by Hideaki Anno and Shinji Higuchi, both of whom collaborated on the anime Neon Genesis Evangelion, in addition to Anno writing the screenplay and Higuchi directing these film special effects. In addition, Toho also announced that the film will begin filming in the fall of 2015, set for a summer 2016 release. Promotional artwork of the new Godzilla footprint was also released, with Toho confirming that their new Godzilla will surpass Legendary Pictures' Godzilla as the tallest incarnation to date. Who in the world decided it became a dick measuring contest? Toho had approached Anno in January of 2013 to direct a reboot, but Anno initially declined due to him falling into another depression, after completing Evangelion 3.0, You Cannot Redo, stating, "A representative from Toho contacted me directly saying, we'd like to direct a new Godzilla film. At the time, I was still recovering from Ava 3.0, and right on the spot, flatly refused the offer. It's impossible. Even to begin work on the next Ava is impossible. However, Toho's sincerity and his longtime friend and co-director Shinji Higuchi eventually convinced him to accept the offer in March of 2013. Ano had also refused the offer due to a lack of confidence, stating, "I refused the offer since I didn't have confidence that I could exceed the first film or come close to equaling it. But I thought that if I were to come close even a little, I would have done the same thing as the first film did." Principal photography began on September 1st, 2015, with a large on-location film shoot at Acapella Station in Tokyo under the working title Shin Godzilla, and approximately 22 days later, it became the official title. The end result was Shin Godzilla, released in Japan on July 29th, 2016. At the same time, Toho announced that the film had been sold to 100 territories, including Asia, Africa, Europe, and North America, the usual places, in 19 days after opening to foreign sales. At the 2016 edition of San Diego Comic-Con, it was announced that Funimation would distribute the film for North America, Central America, South America, and the Caribbean for a late 2016 release as Shin Godzilla instead of Godzilla Resurgence at the insistence of Toho. Now, for those of you who do not know who Funimation is, let me give you a little backstory. Funimation Entertainment was founded on May 9th, 1994 by Jen and Cindy, I don't know what to say their last name, Fukunaga, I guess that's how you say it. They specialize in the dubbing and distribution of East Asian media, most notably Japanese anime. They distributed anime such as Dragon Ball, One Piece, Attack on Titan, My Hero Academia, Black Clover, Tokyo Ghoul, Assassination Classroom, Code Geass, Raildex, that will be a Sun Magical Index and Scientific Railgun, by the way, Soul Eater, Mob Psycho 100, Steins Gate, Paranoid Agent, Fruit Basket, Orion High School Host Club, Yu Yu Hakusho, Combo Bebop, Samurai Champloo, Trigun, Eureka 7, Fooly Cooly, Fairy Tail, and the movie Akira, among others. So yeah, they're pretty good at what they do. In early September, Funimation officially announced that the film was to be given a 1-week limited release in the United States and Canada from October 11th to the 18th on 440 screens in Japanese with English subtitles, making it the first Japanese Godzilla film to receive a theatrical North American release since Godzilla 2000. Why do I feel old all of a sudden? And because, of course, that I live in Winterville, North Carolina now, the movie wasn't shown in any of the theaters in my area. I mean, the closest ones to me was in Charlotte. No thank you. So I had to wait until it came out on Blu-ray and digital. And I just bought this movie on my Xbox One, so let's go with that. But before I can actually do that, I'm going to take a 2-minute break. In the meantime, here is Big in Japan by Alphaville. I'll be right back. Alright, let's begin. Spoilers are up ahead, you have been warned. When the Japanese Coast Guard investigates an abandoned yacht in Tokyo Bay, the boat is destroyed and the Tokyo Bay aqualine is flooded. After seeing a viral video of the incident, Deputy Chief Cabinet Secretary Rando Yaguchi, that's a long title, isn't it, theorizes that it was caused by a living creature. His theory is confirmed, when news reports shows a massive tail emerging from the ocean. Shortly thereafter, the creature moves inland and crawls through the Komanda district of Tokyo in the midst of an inadequate evacuation. The creature leaves a path of destruction and numerous casualties, and evolves into a bipedal red-skinned form before it begins to overheat and returns to the sea. The government officials focus on military strategy and civilian safety, while Yaguchi is put in charge of a task force to research the creature. Due to high radiation readings, the group theorizes that it is energized by nuclear fission. The U.S. sends a special envoy, Kyoko N. Patterson, who reveals that a disgraced, vehemently anti-nuclear zoologist Professor Brumakian had been studying mutations caused by radioactive contamination and theorized the appearance of the creature, but he is disbelieved that both American and Japanese specific circles. The U.S. then prevented him from making his conclusions public. The abandoned yacht discovered in Tokyo Bay was Maki's, and he left his research notes jumbled into a code in it before disappearing. The creature, named Godzilla after Maki's research, reappears, now twice its original size, and makes landfall near Kamakura, is that how you say it? Yeah, en route for Tokyo. Also, for the purposes of this review, I'm going to refer to this Godzilla as Shin, because I want to distinguish it from the previous incarnations. The Japan Self-Defense Force mobilize, but their attacks have no effect, and they are forced to withdraw when Shin breaks through their defenses into the city. The U.S. intervenes with a massively destructive airstrike plan, prompting the evacuation of civilians and government personnel. U.S. B-2 stealth bombers wounded Shin with MOP bunker buster bombs. Shin recovers quickly and responds with highly destructive atomic rays fired from its mouth and dorsal plates, which hit and destroy the helicopter carrying the top government officials and all of the B-2s, as well as incinerating and eradicating large swaths of Tokyo, or as I like to call it, a rave party. Depleting its energy, Shin enters a dormant state and becomes immobile. Yaguchi's team discovers that Shin's plates and blood work as a cooling system and theorize that they could use a coagulating agent to freeze it. After analyzing tissue samples, they find that Shin is an ever-evolving creature able to reproduce asexually. Why does that sound so familiar? The United Nations, aware of this, informs Japan that thermonuclear weapons will be used against Shin should the Japanese fail to subdue it on their own in a few days. Oh, very dear. Evacuations are ordered in multiple prefectures in preparation for the nuclear attack. Unwilling to see nuclear weapons detonated on Japan's soil again, Patterson uses her political connections to buy time for Yaguchi's team, who the interim government has little faith in. Yaguchi's team has a breakthrough when they decipher Goromaki's encoded research. They adjust their plan and procure the means to conduct their deep freeze plan with international support. Mere hours before the planned nuclear attack, Japan enacts the deep freeze plan, or Yashiori plan. Shin is provoked into expending its atomic breath and energy against American drones. The team then detonates explosives in nearby buildings and a train sent towards Shin's feet, knocking the monster down and giving tankers full of coagulant an opportunity to inject it into Shin's mouth. Finally, the trains get their revenge. After 60-plus years, they finally get their revenge. Who would have thought? Though many are killed in the process, Shin is completely frozen solid. In the aftermath, it is discovered that the Shin fallout has a very short half-life and that Tokyo can soon be reconstructed. The international community agrees to cancel the nuclear attack, but has the new Japanese government agree that if the event of Shin's reawakening, an immediate thermonuclear strike will be executed. On Shin's tail, humanoid creatures appear frozen in the process of emerging. That isn't freaky at all. Alright, I'm going to take a 2-minute break. In the meantime, here is Who Will Know, Acapella version by JobbyTheHong. I'll be right back.
If I die in this world, who will know? Something of me, I am lost, no one knows, there's no trace of my yearning. If I die,
but I must
in this world
carry on.
Who will know
Nothing worse
something
can
of me?
befall.
I am lost,
All my fears,
no one knows,
all my
there's
tears,
no trace
tell my heart
of my
there's a hole.
I will avoid
Bum 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 bum
not
bum
even
bum
hope
bum bum bum
a downward slope
bum bum
is all I see. I wear a voice in my mouth, not even
stand the slightest chance. A shaft of light is all I need
all I
to
see.
cease the darkness killing me.
Babu baby boo, babu baby boo, babu baby boo, boo, babu
How he managed to make a more scarier version, I will never know. Anyway, let's talk about some numbers, shall we? In Japan, Shin Godzilla earned approximately 625 million yen, that's right around $6.1 million in US on its opening weekend, and was number one at said box office for that weekend, placing Finding Dory, take that Disney, at second place and One Piece film Gold at third place. After exiting the top 10 in late September, the film had grossed nearly $78 million from 5.6 million admissions. Shin Godzilla became the highest grossing live-action Japanese film for 2016 and the second highest grossing film in Japan for the year, right behind the movie Your Name, to which I myself actually watched, and it's amazing. And yes, I will review it one day, but not now. Let's get into my final thoughts. The theme of the entire movie was the Fukushima accident and the 3/11 earthquake and tsunami, and how the government responded to such disasters. So, you would have expected me to be completely bored on how it focuses on the bureaucracy of Japan. But that's what I like about it. There is a reason why on the poster it says Japan versus Godzilla, because the main character is, well, Japan itself. Believe it or not, I am actually currently interested in learning more about Japan's history, language, and culture because of this movie. I may not be Japanese, but I understand what the people at the time had to go through. Anyway, getting back on track here, it really is Godzilla, a 54 edition, but set in a modern day. Unfortunately, just like the original, it's not perfect. I love that the story is a more realistic approach on what would happen if this creature actually existed in real life, how everyone will react, how the government will react, everything. However, there is a certain point where the film slows down, and it's after when Shin used his atomic breath and is at a complete standstill, and the point where it speeds up again is when Operation Yashiori begins. I wasn't bored during that slowdown, mind you, but it was very noticeable. The human characters, while completely devoid of personality, are interesting to watch. And finally, there are some decent Caucasian actors who can actually speak like normal human beings. There are some of them, but not a lot of them. Speaking of speaking in English, the actress who speaks in Japanese is fantastic, but her English is god-awful. Moving on to Shin itself, the design is unique, but that face literally looks like a dead Muppet. That's pretty much a given. Not much is done character-wise, all he does is walk in one direction. Now, when it comes to the special effects, there are some practical effects and close-up shots. Now, a lot of fans believe that the final form of Shin is a man in a suit. Nope, it's all CG. But, to be honest, it's really good CG. However, the sound design is a bit questionable. Most of the sound design in this movie is from the Showa era, and it's very, very, very noticeable. Here's the problem I have with that. The sound effects were recorded in mono, not stereo, including Shin's roar. Well, except for the 84 roar that Shin did in the end. Moving on to the soundtrack. This is the soundtrack that kickstarted this YouTube channel. Unfortunately, after 2 years, YouTube ended up blocking it worldwide. Thanks. But with that said, the soundtrack is really, really good. It does have tracks from previous Godzilla movies, including Battle in Outer Space and, well, Evangelion. But the original compositions are fantastic. My personal highlights are Persecution of the Masses, Defeat is No Option, Who Won't Know, and Omni_00. Yes, that's his title. But my favorite track is Black Angels. And of course I can't play them because I don't want this video to be blocked. At all. Overall, Shin Godzilla is a great film, earning my final grade of 89 radioactive rave parties out of 100. Buy this movie on Blu-ray. Alright, so that'll do it for this episode. Now, next time is going to be completely different. As you may have realized, you pretty much already know what's about to come next. Originally, I was going to review all 3 of them in one single episode, but I decided not to. I've decided instead to do a 3-parter. So yeah, let's just see how that goes. Until then, if you want more First Amendment opinions on kaiju movies, video games, and anime, stay tuned on the Brumakian podcast, and please subscribe to Brumakian Productions for more juicy content. This has been Demetrius signing off, and hail to the king.